Cape Cod is the sixth episode of the second season of Frasier. This is directed by Sheldon Epps, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. It's a very well written episode, it's a very well shot episode. The use of the window in the beach house is absolutely gorgeous, but I'll talk more about that in a moment. It actually starts off at Mahoney's. Alan doesn't want to drink because he's had a pretty unusual experience. A stranger knew who he was, he knew his name. Well, we can see that Alan has a name tag on because he's been given a lecture, and this person ended up stealing his wallet, but Alan doesn't realise that that's what's happened. Honestly, I had no idea where that story was going when it started. It was a really interesting journey. Frasier then explains that he's going to Cape Cod with everybody, and he and Olivia both agree that Eve and Freddie would be really good together. Eve and Freddie don't know they think this, but Frasier's starting to get some ideas. The bulk of the rest of the episode is in the beach house on Cape Cod. Absolutely gorgeous. It is so stunning. And the window, as I mentioned, well, I think it's the window and the window of the door, but we have a lot of moments where we have some of the characters outside, some inside, but we're constantly able to see almost everybody, and it's just beautifully done, and I absolutely adored it. Roz is the first one to arrive, and then Eve and Freddie and David turn up. David has brought some board games, and then Freddie realizes Mendelssohn is playing. Frasier has definitely set the scene to try and make fireworks happen between Eve and Freddie. However, when Freddie hears Mendelssohn playing, and I didn't realize this was where it was going either, Freddie thought Frasier was trying to get Roz in the mood, and he was trying to tell Roz how he allegedly feels about her. Freddie didn't realize it was for Freddie and Eve, and I rather like that. And the rest of the episode is Freddie and Eve trying to work out if that would be a good idea, while Frasier and Roz are trying to work out how to get Eve and Freddie close together. Alice then arrives, Alice being, of course, Roz's daughter. She's played by Greer Grammer. And Frasier, I had my first laugh out loud here because Frasier hasn't seen Alice since she was 12. And I feel like that says a lot about Frasier and his ability to keep up to date with the people he's meant to care about. But nevertheless, he hasn't seen Alice since she was 12. And immediately he realizes that she is attractive. She is Freddie's type. And Alice wants to go and see Freddie. Very clear Alice is interested in Freddie. And Frasier says, forget Freddie, he's boring. Coming out of my mouth doesn't sound funny, but the delivery was brilliant. And we have just this tangled web of everybody either being interested in people or thinking other people are interested in people. We have Frasier and Roz trying to get Freddie and Eve together. Freddie and Eve think Frasier and Roz are trying to get together. Alice is interested in Freddie. David is interested in Alice. It's chaotic. It's incredibly well written. I think they did a really great job with this one. They leave and then come back, and the rest of the episode is basically that. People trying to get with people, people trying to stop people getting with people. We have conversations with Roz and Eve, and then Frasier and Freddie, and there are a lot of crossed wires, and it could have become very confusing, but it didn't. As I said, I think they handled it really, really well. And then they're playing Legislature, which I am suddenly really interested in playing, and the next thing we know, David challenges Freddie to a duel for Alice's love with fishing rods. And when he said that, it sounded so Niles. Every now and then, David will do or say something that's just so Niles. And I could absolutely see Niles doing that. And in fact, he does. In an episode of classic Frasier, Niles does sword fight. I won't say too much about that, but there is an episode with a duel. In case you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. Maybe that's why I immediately thought of Niles. Frasier then realizes that Freddie thinks he's trying to get with Roz, and Frasier also realizes that either he has to tell Freddie what's happening, and then Freddie will realize he's been meddling in his love life, or he has to play along with this idea that he's romantically interested in Roz. And I wasn't sure where this was going. I thought when Frasier went out onto the porch with Roz, I thought he was going to say, play along, pretend I have feelings for you because they're on to us. They think we're meddling, or they will think we're meddling if we tell the truth. And what happens next is brilliantly done because Frasier just says, play along, but he doesn't explain why. And of course, in the background, we can see everybody watching them. And Frasier tells her, can you see if I'm wearing contacts? And of course, Roz leans closer. Pretend to burp. She puts her hand in front of her mouth as if she's gasping at what she's just heard. And just imagine you just ate some really hot food and she starts fanning in front of her face as if she's in disbelief. And it was very well executed. And then she realizes, of course she does, and she turns around through the window where we've been able to see Freddie and Eve and Alice and David, and basically gestures to say, no, this is not happening, this isn't real. But of course they think she's just responding to finding out Frasier is interested in her, which was a really good way of showing how she would react, and that they can just draw a line under this. Frasier tried, she wasn't interested. They don't need to actually offer any kind of explanation. And I thought it was a really great way to end it. Well, we actually end that with fireworks and this beautiful shot of Frasier and Roz in the foreground and the other four in the background. And it's absolutely stunning. And it's just visually an absolutely gorgeous episode. We then end with our classic dialogue-free scene with Olivia and Alan in Mahoney's, and they bring out legislature and parliamentary inquiry. And Alan puts the wig on, and it's a fun way to end things, and a nice way to bring Olivia and Alan back into it since they weren't in the episode very much. It's a really solid episode. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. The narrative is brilliant, very well written, beautifully shot. Honestly, I don't think there's anything about this episode that didn't work. I also just can't get over how absolutely gorgeous that beach house is. It is absolutely stunning, and definitely a very well shot, very well written episode, great narrative. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd say it's my favourite from season 2, but that being said, I'd say it's a pretty close call among all of them. They've all been pretty brilliant. I'm also making a point of, actually, I'm not looking ahead, but I have just realised that I'm pretty sure Patricia Heaton said on Instagram that she was in 3 episodes of this season, and she's only been in 1 so far, and we only have 4 episodes left. So she must be coming back pretty soon, hopefully. Time will tell. I'm making a point of not looking ahead. It is obviously kind of hard to avoid some spoilers because I am following them on Instagram. But nevertheless, really thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Unfortunately, we are halfway through the season, more than halfway through the season, which is devastating, but really looking forward to watching the rest.